Valerie Wasa, and this is 7 Years of Social Impact. The year is 2019. I was in my third year of law school. I studied my Bachelor's of Law at Catholic University of Eastern Africa. At this time, we were choosing our electives, and out of curiosity, I remember choosing units such as gender law, rights of a child, international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and public international law. And I would say that from an academic and from an knowledge standpoint, this was very integral to shaping my fundamental knowledge of social impact from a legal, policy, and international landscape. Through these units, I really came to learn a lot of key concepts, first of all, around the laws supporting the rights of women, the rights of children, the rights of minority groups, Pan-Africanism, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, gender mainstreaming, gender versus sex, gender-based violence, and all these underlying concepts and legal concepts that underpin, human rights, Bill of Rights, the Constitution of Kenya. But also because it was an international university, we also got a lot of insights from fellow classmates from neighboring countries such as Uganda, South Sudan, Rwanda. And it was a very enriching experience to learn about things such as the Maputo Protocol and the African Court on Human and People Rights. And so I remember me and my fellow friends who were studying law were like, why not put all these concepts into real practice? And so we started a social club. It was called Shiriam Tani. And so essentially what we used to do is we would go to the slums in Nairobi and just talk to, young women and youth in general around their rights, especially, and aspects that affected them from a social justice perspective, which was police brutality. Most of them were incarcerated for wrongs and wrongdoings they did not do. Most of them were illegally detained for years and years. And so it was very enriching, to put all these concepts we learned in school in real life. And I just remember how we would go to community radios, and there was this radio station called Ghetto Radio, to just talk to the youth about issues affecting them, and having to put aside all your huge English jargon and just speak in Sheng, because that is what people in the community learned. And it was such a humbling experience. And I remember every time we'd go back, women would, specifically for me, would be like, please don't go, you guys give us so much hope when you come here. And so that is how I started being inspired to do something just beyond youth, but also now just from a women focus. Most of them will be like, if you have sanitary towels, if you could bring it to us, that would be great. And so now it's transitioned from social justice and legal aid to now women's rights, because I came to realize that there's youth as a collective, but then young women had unique challenges such as unaffordability of quality sanitary towels and all of that. So now every time we'd go and do these legal aid clinics in the slum, we used to go to Kayolem, Kurukwanjenga, we used to go to Kibera slums, and even Kuinda slums, which was closer to school. I would also now do a pad drive, and people would donate either sanitary towels, or they'll donate cash, and we'll be able to take these sanitary products to the women. And so it really unlocked me to so many issues, because when you talk to these women, they tell you some of the challenges they have, some of them having to do sex work, which exposes them to a lot of risks, so that they can be able to afford to buy sanitary products. The toilet situation, the privacy aspect of it. Most of the toilet pit latrines were shared by both genders. Most of them were full. There was a sanitary problem. There was a water problem. And so I started to share a lot about that on LinkedIn, and one thing led to another. And so I decided to start an initiative with my mom. And so we would go to schools and donate sanitary towels to women and girls, teach them about menstrual hygiene management, and we would just teach them about, even there's a lot of also taboo around menstruation and all that, and teenage pregnancies. And then one thing led to another, and I think the world was watching. And so I got 2 or 3 partners from other countries. One was from Poland and the other one was from Germany, and we collaborated with them. That is still 2019. A lot happened in a year. And so I remember one of them was coming up with a sanitary solution to help people who have limited access to water to be able to wash their hands effectively to reduce diseases such as cholera and typhoid and all of that. And the other was a company that used to make reusable sanitary towels. And so my role was to take this to do market research and see the uptake of these products. That was great, and I think that is how I now started interacting with other organizations. As a young person, remember, I was just in third year, so I used to do a lot of volunteering. I would go and, either I learned now the concept of non-profit organizations, that a project starts, is launched, the project is done, there's needs assessment, and then, in the needs assessment, there's research, there's data collection, there's human-centered design, there's program design, and then there's program implementation. Then at the end, the program is closed and there's a whole reporting and all that and launching of the report. So I started getting exposure into this, and mostly it was just me being a volunteer, helping with, registering participants, doing the research in the community, and learning around research ethics and data collection. And then we went to now 2020. I was in fourth year, and now COVID happened.